All right, we are back. Another episode of the Sportscast here with Craig. Brian is not available this week, this weekend at least. And normally we go on Fridays, but because of World Series, life stuff, Halloween, we just couldn't really play it out. So we're coming to you live on Saturday here. Talk about some of the top games for Week 9 in the NFL. Let's go ahead and do you have anything that stands out this week in terms of games that you've been looking forward to?
No, none of the looks like some pretty light action this week, but we'll cover some of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few kind of games where you go, if this team loses, they're kind of out of the mix. Um, there's kind of some a couple games that stand out to me. Some other games that are kind of like, this could be a preview of what's to come in the playoffs. But I kind of want to dive in real quick to I just want to get this one out of the bag right off the jump. Early game tomorrow, Broncos Titans. I think it might be an interesting matchup. You have kind of two really good defenses and two offenses. They're still, even though the Broncos did have a decisive win over the Cowboys, they're still kind of figuring it out. Um, CJ Stroud situation. What is that? Is it CJ Stroud just kind of falling into a slump here in a sophomore slump? Is just teams now understanding CJ Stroud? It's just a matter of kind of it's a weird game. Texans are in a weird position where if they lose it, they're kind of the likelihood of them making the playoffs is getting slimmer and slimmer. So Broncos, on
Um,
the other hand, 6-2, top of the division, not by a lot. And yeah, you don't want to start kind of losing games at this point because the Chiefs are starting to kind of catch on. So, what's your take on this game?
I mean Stroud played better last week. For the first time in a long time, he had over 300 yards. Um, so, um, but
And that was against who?
I don't remember who they played last week. Um, Let me see who they played last week.
Yeah, because I know that's been
49ers. They played the
49ers.
Niners
Yeah.
last week, and he had over 300 yards. So, I mean, they lost, but he played better. So we'll see. But the Texans have definitely been. They don't really. Their running game has been obsolete.
Right.
They just have not been able to run the football at all. So it's really all on Stroud. So when you kind of don't have that balanced attack and don't have that deal, people can play back and kind of make it more difficult on him. And I think the loss of Tank Dell, him being out with that major injury, has hurt. He was on the same page with Dell, and they had a real good connection. So you lose your wide receiver there.
Yeah.
Some of the guys haven't had the seasons they had in the past. Um, but it'll be a good game. We'll see. I mean, I think the Broncos look really good, and I mean, I think Dallas's defense helped that, but they look like they kind of got a little bit of a kickstart offensively. It looks like Franklin is playing better. He looks like Nix and him are kind of the last couple weeks have really gotten on the same page, and he had a couple big catches last week and a touchdown. So it'll be interested to see if he can keep it rolling there. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it,
And I don't know. I mean, I never really got to kind of talk about it because I wasn't on. Um, I wasn't really on Tuesday when you and Brian went ahead and went live. But yeah, it was a weird game. The defense of the Cowboys has been a question mark most of the year, so they
yeah.
kind of had a feeling. I think the thing that kind of stood out to me a little bit in that game was the fact that you know the defense stopped a pretty insane offense that had been kind of on a tear.
Yeah.
I have Javonte Williams as my fantasy running back, and he's been going crazy. So it was kind of, I thought it might turn into a shootout, which was favored the Cowboys in the situation, but I was pretty shocked that they kind of shut that offense down, especially with Pat Surtain
Right.
being out the second half. That was kind of insane. I didn't really expect. I thought that the Cowboys would have capitalized on that, but they had an answer. I guess the Broncos had an answer at that, or they just had to kind of, once they shut the run game down, it was, you
Right.
kind of
And,
all you had to
and
do
when
was
you
try to throw the
and
ball.
when you get down by a certain amount, everybody knows you're
Right,
passing, so you can kind of again drop back into a pass coverage you deal because you don't have time to run the football being down 20. You know,
right.
you need to make big plays and get quick scores. And Dak threw a couple passes that are questionable. But I think, like I said, when you're forced to throw the ball and forced to feed it into one of your big guys to make big plays and get quick scores, the Broncos knew it was coming, so they were able to adjust and that really hurt Dallas's offense and
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
they just didn't have a deal. So if you can stay ahead of the Texans and not put yourself in that position, then I think you're in a better spot. And Nix
Yeah,
has looked really good. He had the one pass last week right off the start that was behind the receiver and it went for the interception. But other than that, he looked really good, and he's
Yeah, a lot of
looked pretty
people
good
were
all season.
capitalizing on that a little bit, and they were kind of jumping on that. There were a couple of reasons as to maybe why that might have happened. We don't really know. Nick's never really kind of talked about it. I don't think, unless there's an interview where he post game interview where he did. I didn't really hear him talk about it. It was kind of. It seemed like he tried to no look. He was getting a lot of balls batted down, so I can understand the no look thing. And trying to do that to prevent those kinds of things from happening. But it seemed either like a no look pass, which isn't always the best sometimes, unless you're real confident in it, or there was a miscommunication on the actual play and the
Right,
receiver went
wrong
one
route.
way and
Yeah, yeah,
Nix thought he
yeah.
was going to cut another way and threw
Right,
the ball the other way. So it's hard to tell exactly what happened. It is a weird play. It seemed odd for him to just throw a completely off ball like that. Normally,
right,
Knicks, if he throws something, at least there's a guy there. He's just throwing in a bad position or there's a double covered or something like that.
right.
So, yeah, it is what it is. This game, I think, is going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be close. I think that, the Broncos are kind of on the road. So, um, I don't really know their splits on the road in terms of like win percentage or anything, but I mean, we went on the road and beat Philadelphia, so I don't really think Broncos worry too much about being on the road, and I especially don't think they worry too much about being in close games. Um, my only thing is this game will win in the trenches if the Broncos can run the ball, even if it's slightly good, it will help them. Overall, if the Broncos cannot get to CJ Stroud, it will become a bit of a problem.
Right.
Um,
They have done that all year though. They're on pace to supplant the '84 Bears for the most sacks in um, a full season. Obviously, they have an extra game to do that. They're still on pace to do it even in without the extra game. So um, I think I think if they can do that and put some pressure, Stroud under pressure is not. He wasn't good in college, and he's not been great in the pros.
yeah,
When you get in his face and kind of put some pressure on him, so I think that'll be a very
yeah.
big key.
Greenlaw's back after his suspension from the crazy comeback game against the Giants. So he's back. Pat Sertan, I'm not quite sure the update on that. He's definitely not going to be in this game. And there's a couple players actually that's not going to be in this game. Pat Sertan is out, probably out for 4 weeks.
Ooh,
It's an
IR
oblique.
situation.
It's an oblique, but they didn't put him on the IR. See, that's what I don't understand. They didn't put him on the IR. They avoided that. I
Uh
don't know.
they must think that he might. They're saying four, but he may be able to come back in two or three because if you put him on IR, then it's for sure four. So maybe
Okay,
they're hoping that he can come
come
back
back for the
before that.
Chiefs game. That's kind of the
Yeah,
idea. That makes sense. It's an oblique injury. It's not an egregious oblique injury from what I've heard, so it's not going to require surgery. It's kind of just a strain or something, but it's a low grade from what they've
Yeah.
said. So no surgery
Obliques are
needed there, which is
much
good.
more tricky in baseball, but than they are
Yeah,
football. But you don't hear
and
them very often in football. But
you saw the play where it happened. He kind of got tugged in a weird way, and then he grabbed his shoulder, and that was it. So the other one, Marvin Mims. This one's kind of an obnoxious injury because he wasn't even supposed to be in the game. It was kind of at the end of the Cowboy game when they started taking starters out. They forgot to take him out, or it was they or he didn't come out right away or something. Anyway, concussion protocol. He got hit, and you know, there's that. So he's out of the game. Marvin Mims is out, so that's a return guy that's kind of been a very helpful player to us. That's out of the game as well as a receiver. So there's going to be a couple other things. I think Brown. Uh, this is just so I think it's going to be a close game overall. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I like defenses, so this is kind of my kind of game. I like two defenses battling it out. I don't know why, but I love that stuff because it could just turn at any moment on a dime, and it's supposed to like kind of a high scoring game. It's just kind of I don't like seeing bad defensive play like that. It's just kind of weird. So but yeah, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be fun to watch. So the next one I'm gonna talk about and go into is kind of one that I think a lot of people are gonna be very keen to watch. Everyone's gonna be kind of eyeing this game. This is kind of a later in the midday game. So it's the Bills versus or the Chiefs versus the Bills, and I think this is in Buffalo. If I'm wrong, I'm not sure. The Chiefs just played a home game recently, so
yeah,
I'm assuming it's on the road.
it's on the road. Yeah,
Okay. So yeah, they're on the road. That's gonna be a fun game.
yeah,
It's going to be a fun. Are the Chiefs for real? Are they not for real? Are they? This isn't the Raiders, okay? Like you're going up against a potential playoff team, potential playoff matchup, going to a Super Bowl again. And we can, this is kind of a preview test. You know that Josh Allen's going to be ready to go. The one thing I think that the Bills circle on that calendar every year is just if and when they get to play them. And especially in Buffalo, it's going to be a just rowdy crowd. You know how Bills Mafia is. They're going to be throwing themselves through tables and lighting things on fire and acting crazy before the game. There's
right.
going to be a crazy, crazy deal. So what do you think about this game? What like sparks your interest about it other than the playoff preview
Uh,
implications?
I'm interested to see the Chiefs' offense after. I mean, it was the Raiders, but he got all his weapons back. He gets the guy back from the suspension for the deal. Has all his wide receivers. Kareem Hunt seems to be more involved in the offense again. Had two touchdowns last week, so that takes a little pressure off the start of the season. They really didn't have the running back. Pachenko has been in and out. Hunt is they kind of picked him up late, early in the season, so he didn't have a chance to get his legs under him. Um, so it looks like they are fully healthy on offense, fully deal, and Mahomes has looked, even though the record doesn't show, he's putting up yards and points every week. And even with two picks last week, still came back and threw three touchdowns, and was able to pull one out of the fire on Monday night. You don't like the short week for the Chiefs, coming off a Monday night game, uh, but they'll be ready. They'll be ready, and Buffalo has hit a little bit of a skid themselves. Kind of a couple games that they didn't look great.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
But
It
with, but
happens.
with at
I think
home,
every
but
team.
with at home, and a game like this, I think Buffalo will be ready. I think that'll be the game to watch.
Yeah.
Definitely tomorrow.
Yeah, I completely agree. The thing that kind of sticks out to me a little bit is Xavier Worthy injured. I thought he came out of that game last week. It
He
seemed
I
odd.
haven't seen anything. He might have came out of it, but I think he's probably going to be okay.
Okay.
But
Um,
with but they don't use Worthy as much now that Rice is back,
right.
so
Well,
there's
unless
that.
someone gets hurt, then you're like, okay,
Right.
well, now where's Worthy? Um, so my only, I have a little bit of a thing with it. I'm not going to sit here and denounce anything that the Chiefs have done. That's would be absolutely ridiculous. But I did watch a little bit of that game against the Commanders, and I will say 7 points at halftime was a little weird. It's a little strange. They did turn it on towards the end. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the Commanders just couldn't do anything offensively at all. And you have is it Marcus Mariota was out there
Right.
for as a
Right. No.
quarterback for
No.
them.
Jaden
You
Daniels.
have a
You're
not a great
missing.
position for a quarterback, especially this guy who I mean, does anyone have any confidence as a Commanders fan to think that, oh, we got Marcus Mariota out there, he's ready to go? I don't think anybody's excited about that. And that put a pressure not only on other people in the offense, but also it put pressure on the defense. And I think now, as you kept seeing that defense out more and more because the offense couldn't do anything, they're going to bend. It don't matter what defense it is. The more and more they're out there, they're going to get tired. They're going to get frustrated. They're just going to bend and break. And that's exactly what happened. It was strange to me to see that Patrick Mahomes threw 2 picks and literally by halftime it was 7-7. And I'm like, I thought this would have been dice them up, right? And then it didn't happen until the later end of the later part of the game, and I was just like, okay, well, yeah. I mean, any defense out there eventually is going to just get got, and that's exactly what happened. Um, so I don't know. This game is going to be different because I honestly think that if you throw 2 picks against Buffalo, that's dangerous.
Yeah. 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 No,
You
you can't turn the
cannot
ball over.
allow
No.
2 picks to Buffalo. And there were a couple times in that game where there was a fumble. Now Chiefs got a lucky bounce; they got it back. But you cannot allow turnovers to Buffalo in this game. If you start doing that, you're going to give them great field position, and it's going to be over early. And then you're going to be clawing back, and I just don't think the Chiefs are in that position to try to claw back like that. I think putting
They
pressure
don't.
on that
They don't
team.
seem to have the high-powered. I can strike at any point in time on the field offense this year.
Right.
It used to be, when you gave Mahomes the ball at any moment, he could just look down the field and hit
Yeah.
who knows who. And that it doesn't seem they seem to have to drive. They seem to have longer drives. They're not the quick strike
Right.
offense that they've been in the past.
Yeah, and I completely I agree with that. And this is why this game is fascinating to me because I think that if Buffalo wins, um, this puts the Chiefs in a very awkward position in the division.
Mm-hmm.
This puts the pressure on them to now not only win some games, but also they're going to have to win some games in the division as well.
Gonna have to
Because
sweep.
if
Basically, gonna have to sweep the division.
right, I think they lost the first game against the Chargers, though. I think.
Right, but I mean,
Okay,
out
so
from
right, yeah, outright, yes, they're gonna have to
they're gonna
sweep
have to
Denver, and they're
Denver,
gonna have
and they're
to
gonna have
win the
to beat
next
the
game
Chargers the
against the
second. Yeah,
Chargers, right?
yeah,
And
because
that's going to be tough to do. I don't know. I know that the later part of our schedule is a little interesting. We play Green Bay, I think, and we play the Chiefs. We haven't played the Chargers yet, and then we're about to play the Raiders, and it's coming down to that moment in the season where you start losing some of these games, and there's gonna be a ramification for that down the road. So this is as much as everybody's just kind of like looking past Buffalo here, I'm like, this is going to be an interesting game because if Buffalo wins it, I don't care how they do it, but if they win it, the Chiefs are in an awkward position.
Mhm.
And not
because
totally
they
out of the
had
playoff
some
picture,
because
but
they
they're
had
in an
some
awkward
early
position.
season. Yeah, they had some early season losses.
And again, we're going to chalk this up as there might be a couple more losses in this season for the
Oh,
Chiefs.
absolutely. I mean
Who knows?
I mean your division's not easy. The Chargers are playing real good football. The Denver's playing really good football.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would definitely put yourself in an awkward position with another loss because of the early, like, if you didn't have the early season losses, then you might be okay to lose this and be all right. But with the early season losses, this becomes a much bigger game,
And the other
and it
thing that
becomes a big game
really
for Buffalo too, because
it
I
does.
mean they've lost, like I said, they've lost a couple games that were questionable to some teams that we thought really they should have beat. They started out real hot with 3-0 and looked like their offense was really on top of the world.
Yeah.
And now they've slowed down in the last couple weeks and had a couple bad losses. And if they lose, then you start to question
Yeah.
where they're at.
This could be the game that wakes them up.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
mean, if
mean,
it
knowing
doesn't,
Josh,
if this doesn't, then nothing will.
yeah,
I mean,
if
if they
this
come
doesn't,
in
nothing will.
and they
But
come out
yeah,
flat, then there might be something wrong in Buffalo.
it seems
So
like when Josh Allen is facing this team, he that or the Eagles,
right.
he
Last
will
year, if you
try
remember the
so
last
hard.
year where the run that he had, that he just wouldn't be tackled and refused to be
Yeah,
tackled and ran into the end zone, and he
that
just said,
Josh
"I'll do it
Allen's
myself."
scary. That
Yeah,
Josh Allen is scary to deal with, and I think the last thing that the Chiefs want to deal with is that chip on his shoulder kind of Josh Allen, because that's not easy to go against. So yeah, it's I think this game will be close. I think Buffalo edges out just a little bit. I don't think that this. I mean, I would be very shocked if this was a lopsided game.
yeah. No, I think it comes
Either
down to the
way,
fourth quarter either way.
right. So I kind of give a nudge to Josh Allen, the Bills. They are on the road. Bills Mafia is going to be out there as well. Kind of the 12th man in a way.
Yeah,
But Josh Allen, there's something about these matchups that it really grinds his gears to lose to this team constantly. And I just think that he may dial it up to another level in this game. Patrick Mahomes, this game, I think if they lose and Patrick Mahomes has a mediocre to all right game, maybe the narrative wouldn't change a little bit. But if he ends up throwing a couple picks that turn into touchdowns, or they lose the ball, like he gets sacked or something in a strip sack or whatever, I just think that it's this whole narrative that he is hands down without question the MVP. Well, I mean, you kind of have to start thinking about who those teams were that he was going up against, because some of them were not in great positions
right.
as a team. So this team, granted, they've struggled a few times this year already with the Bills. They're in a better position than these other teams. So you start going up against some of these big juggernauts down the stretch, and that kind of determines exactly who you are. And it's the same with the Broncos as well. It's the same. You go up against a really good defense, make your mark. Because this is that moment in the season where we start to find out who these teams are, really, and
Yeah,
their
no, yeah.
identity. So yeah. So what is your take on the actual like outcome of the game? Do you think it's gonna be close? You think it's who do you
Oh,
think might
absolutely. I
win?
think it's a fourth quarter. I think it's a fourth quarter last minute. Might who has the ball last? Can Allen drive down and save the game like he did last year, or do you give Patrick Mahomes the ball and um here he is and ends up pulling one of his Mahomes magic. Listen, um even like I said, even though the record doesn't show, Mahomes statistically is still having a very good year. Talk about fantasy. I got him in fantasy, and he's averaging 30 points a week. Every time you look up, he's just, he has a bad first half, and all of a sudden, here's 3 touchdowns. Like I said, starts last week, throws 2 picks early in the deal, and comes back and throws 3 touchdowns, and you
Yeah.
don't even remember the 2 picks early in the game. So
And their defense has been playing better. I
yes,
think their defense is
and
also
and like I
allowing
said,
that field
offensively,
position. Yeah.
running game has come up. Kareem Hunt had 2 scores last week, a pass and a run. So he seems to be getting his legs back under him and helping Mahomes out. Um, Hunt is a much better blocker from a pass perspective than Pachenko is. Kareem Hunt stepped up last week and caught a guy and allowed Mahomes to make a move and stay on his feet and make a play downfield. So that helps him tremendously. Um, so yeah, no, I think it's going to be a very very close game. Fourth quarter, end of the game. Does somebody throw a pick late? Does somebody get a turnover? And I think whoever has the ball last kind of deal. And these two quarterbacks are both very good in the final moments. So I think whoever has the ball could be a winner, and it's a big win for whoever wins it. Whoever wins it, it's a big win.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs win it, it really puts them back in the talk for the division. If the Bills win it, then I think it's more of a bigger game for Kansas City because Buffalo doesn't really have the strength in the division that Kansas City has. Kansas City's got three teams, them, the Chargers, the Broncos, they're all, really good. Whereas Buffalo has the Jets, the Dolphins, they if they lose the game here, it's not as detrimental to not winning the division as it is to Kansas City.
Yes. And that's another reason why I think it's going to be a fascinating game for Kansas City because they are going to play like it's no lose kind of deal.
Right.
Because I think it would affect a lot of things if they lost that game.
Right.
Going into another game that is kind of fascinating. So I'll just go into the Cowboy game. Cowboys are going in and playing the Cardinals. Is this a game where they bounce back? It seems like a game they would bounce back in. Um, after a kind of a crazy game in Denver, with their
Right.
offense just wasn't clicking, they couldn't run the ball really. It just doesn't. Nothing was working, basically. So is this game kind of a bounce back for the Cowboys? Like when, like it's still going to say if they win this game, is it because of that win, they can kind of start getting away from that loss a little.
Um, well, I think it's a bounce back game from this point of their home. They've scored 40 or more every home game. They're playing an Arizona team without their quarterback. He's still out with a injury. So they said he's available to kind of maybe put in for some plays, but I would think that he's not starting. So if he's not starting, I don't see him really coming in. Um, Especially if Dallas starts to hang points, they're not going to risk him to injury. But this is the last game before Dallas really starts its gauntlet stretch. Come Thanksgiving, they are really on a gauntlet stretch. They got Kansas City, they got the Eagles, they got the Lions, they've got they've just a murderous row of their back half of the schedule. So um, we'll see. They if they're going to have any chance of deal, they've got to win these games that they're able to win. Because like I said, the back half of the schedule is super daunting.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to let my cat out. So yeah, so it's I think it's going to be a good game for them to kind of bounce back, get back in the mix, kind of get away from that loss. I know that like as like the fans are probably like, ugh, like but I mean, what will help is a really good win. And I think the Cowboys will win this game. It's a Monday night,
Yeah,
prime time. If you have YouTube TV, you probably won't be able to watch it. Because I think it's going to be on ESPN. So, but anyway, yeah, like what I think you're right. I think this is going to be a bounce back game for them. They'll get especially on the offense. I think they'll definitely just kind of run up the score a little bit, and I think their defense will have the ability to kind of pin their ears back in this game and try to
yeah,
go after the quarterback and try to kind of put pressure on him. So I kind of there's a Patriots and Falcons seem interesting to me. Drake May going up against a pretty. I mean, I don't know. Not a lot of people are talking about the Falcons defense, but I think it had been doing pretty well
right. And
this
and I
year.
don't know if Penix is playing or if um, they're going with um, Kirk Cousins, who
Yeah.
in has really looked bad. The two games he's played, uh, he
Yeah.
is he is just over there. Talk about the grand heist. He got a bunch of money from Atlanta and has not earned a single dime of it.
Yeah.
Been basically holding the clipboard, and the games he has played, he's looked absolutely terrible. So it'll depend on who's the quarterback. Um, but Drake May has looked really well.
He's looked very good.
Coming off of and that's weird coming off of a season where he was thrown in midseason and looked very overwhelmed when he was thrown in last year. Looked
Yeah.
extremely overwhelmed, and now they have a new coach, and Vrabel comes to town, and all of a sudden, Drake May has made leaps and bounds of which is good. I mean, I always thought on tape that I thought he was one of the top quarterbacks. I said I liked him more than Caleb. I wasn't a Daniels fan because of the running. I don't like the at first break of trouble.
Right.
I'm running.
Right.
I think that's a good way to get injured. That's why that I didn't. I thought the same thing about Anthony Richardson, and you see where it's gotten him. Um,
I think CJ Stroud also had that same problem.
he did, but he seemed to get rid of it his rookie season, and now he's kind of back to, and I think that is the struggle of not having a running game and guys pinning their ears back because they're not afraid of a rush going by them. And so he has gotten back into that very much so. And so I think if you can put a little pressure on him tomorrow, he does bail out quickly, and so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's
I think
interesting.
it. I think Drake May will find a way to win this game.
I think so.
And
And I think if he has any chance of putting him, really throwing his name into the MVP deal, you can't lose a game like this.
no, I think not. Yeah, I completely agree there. I guess one more game I just kind of want to touch on because Brian's not here, and why not? Packers, Panthers. I think this might be a kind of a easy win, right? Or is this one of those trap
Uh,
games where the
I mean,
Packers
it could
will
be
lose, find a way to
the
lose a
Panthers
game?
have looked a little better, but if the Packers look anything like they looked in the second half against Pittsburgh, that's going to be a deal because I don't know what was said in the locker room at halftime of that game, but you went from looking extremely confused to looking like a well-oiled machine in a half of football. You absolutely just obliterated a very good or pretty good Steelers defense in the
Yeah.
second half and went out and just lit the world on fire. And
Well, and they completely just suffocated
just foot down in
Aaron
the
Rodgers
throttle
as
and
well.
and
Yeah.
ran away. And
Yeah.
the defense has looked better all year, but the offense has have never, I mean, when the head coach says we still haven't put a full game together and we're in week 9, that's a problem.
Right.
You need to, by now you should have all the kinks worked out. You should have the offense going. You don't have a bunch of new pieces. Golden is really your only new piece, and you should be able to um, be offensively should be humming right now, and it's not. So I'll be interested to see. It'll be a good game for them to do that. The Carolina defense isn't great, so you should be able to take your offense and kind of run it, and hopefully they can put a whole game together and go from there.
Well, and the other thing too that I'll touch on, Brian has brought this up multiple times on, I don't know, a few episodes at this point. I don't know, there might be more. I know he definitely brought it up after the Cowboy game. Um and he just said that, maybe this is LaFleur's last year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe LaFleur has lost the locker room. Maybe there's something up. He makes weird decisions in game with play calling, things like that. We'll see if whatever maybe LaFleur did something and woke up in that second half and was like, you know
Yeah,
what,
like I
we're
said,
gonna
that'll be
play
interesting.
a different deal.
That'll
If
be
they
interesting.
start out from the jump like lighting it up, then obviously he's done something different. He's adjusted in some way.
Yeah, and if they put the full
Um,
game together and put up 40, and he
right.
doesn't have any picks, and they're throwing the ball over the field and running the ball over the field, maybe it's fixed, and
Maybe.
then that becomes then you throw the Packers back into a deep playoff run, because the
Yeah.
defense has looked good all year except for
Yeah.
the Dallas game.
Yeah. Yeah. The defense
So
didn't look good that game. But yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be fascinating. They should win this game. But
I would think so.
there's
Yeah.
always these weird trap games that happen where,
Yep. Any given
like,
Sunday.
I mean, I thought the Cowboys were gonna beat the Panthers, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So it,
That talk about a trap game.
yeah,
Yeah. You just never. You really start to question things when you lose to that team. Um, they have looked
yeah,
better, but still, when you lose to a team like that, it's a definite question mark.
that's one of the things that worries about me with the Raiders. I'm like, I don't, I don't know. To me, that's even though I know we should beat that team, I'm like, um, I could just see something weird happening. All right. Well, outside of the games that we just talked about, I guess we can kind of go into it kind of falls into a little bit of what happened on Thursday. Um, the Dolphins situation has gotten worse.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
how he still has a job is beyond me. The only thing I can think of is they
yeah,
just don't want to make the move mid season. But when you got guys that are yelling at each other on the sidelines and coming after the coach and coming after the quarterback,
yeah,
things are just off the rails in Miami. And unfortunately, I really liked when he started out. I really liked McDonald as the head coach. I really thought he could do some good things. He looked like he had Tua fixed from his
yeah,
problems, and boy, it has just come straight off the rails. Um, and things are as bad as they've ever been. And I think Mike McDonald is just dead man walking at this point. I don't think there's anything that saves his job at this point. I think
yeah,
whether he makes the end of the season, I don't know, but I just think that he is gone come season end, and it won't be very long after um, the final game that he's already out the door. So
yeah. They got rid of their general manager. Uh, you know, so that's something, I guess. All eyes are pointing to, I think his name, I think it's McDaniel's. McDaniel's, he's, you know, pretty much on his way out, unless something crazy happens, and maybe they thought it was a general manager problem, even though I don't think so.
yeah, I don't
There was
think
a
so.
lot of like yelling on the sidelines in that game with Dolphins players. There was a questionable call. I don't know how questionable it might be. It looked like a tripping call. But I don't know. And then there was some yelling on the sidelines between coach and players, and
Yeah.
um,
There was a lot of yelling, and
yeah, just seems like a bad situation there. So, uh, shout out to Dolphin fans. You guys are whoever's still riding with them. I mean, you diehards out there. It's
yeah,
a lot. If I was my team, I would be very frustrated with what I see out there, and I
right,
honestly would have zero confidence in where the team is headed unless
right.
they just completely clean house.
And
Um,
that's what I think has to happen. I mean, I
yeah,
think maybe you might see Tua being moved too. I don't know how
I could
deep
see that. I could see that.
the deal gets, but I really think with his injury history and with um, some other things, I really think that you could see a full blown rebuild. Which they only really had one season where they made the playoffs and they didn't go very far.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I wouldn't expect Tyreek Hill to probably be back next year. I think it's a full blown blow up in Miami is what you're going to see after the year.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Um, so is there any other news? I know we're kind of getting down to the end of the trade deadline. I don't know when exactly that is
Tuesday
over.
is the trade deadline.
So Tuesday, we're getting close to the
Tuesday,
wire
like
there.
3:00. There's been some moves, but nothing major.
There hasn't been any big moves. Yeah, there hasn't been any massive where you're like, whoa, okay, this team just got better.
There was talk around here, of course, of Max Crosby and then Hendrickson. I don't think you see either one of those guys move. The Raiders have already come out and told Crosby, "You ain't going anywhere." That was all hearsay and speculation
right.
on a part of a zealous NFL beat writer. Don't worry about that. You're here for good. So I just don't think that you're going to see that. Um, I
think
just don't
the Cowboys might do something. I don't know how big of a splash it would be.
I just hope they don't give up one of the firsts, because right now I don't think there's anything you can do through a trade deadline that would make a difference this season, and so to give up a huge pick that you could turn into something down the road, I think you need to hold those. I think you need to use all four of them, or I think you need to take those and package them up and move up and get something that's going to definitely help you in the long run, because I just don't think there's anything out there, especially with Crosby and probably Hendrickson both being off the table. I just don't see anything that you're going to do that's going to make an immediate impact for this year. So the only
Jerry
reason you would make
Jerry said it alone after that game. Somebody asked that to him after the Bronco game, and Jerry was like, "Yeah, I don't think there's any one move that would fix this defense."
I just don't. I totally agree with that scenario. If I thought one pass rusher would fix it, or one guy in the secondary would fix it, then great. But I don't think, especially with your schedule being the way it is and as brutal as your schedule's being, they're about to lose 6 or 7 straight here, I believe, and you're going to have a really good draft pick, and then you're going to have 2 from the Packers that aren't going to be so good. They'll be at the back of the first round. I think you could take those, package them together, and maybe move back higher in the first round, and then you have a top 10, and then move with the Packers up, and you could get 2 really good guys and really shore up that defense, because I have a feeling that Trayvon Diggs has played his last game in a Cowboy uniform.
Probably.
I have a feeling that you're going to have a whole new system in place next year, because I believe the defensive coordinator is gone the second the season ends. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes in Dallas, and I just don't think that packaging number 1 picks by Tuesday is going to help anything immediately.
No, it's kind of fascinating, because it's it's not like any other sport where it's the teams that are really going to be going around and getting somebody are teams that are honestly in a position to go deep in the playoffs.
Right.
So I'm very curious
what
the Colts
that are one piece from this. Like,
I'm curious what the Colts do. The Broncos on one hand, I can see them getting a wide receiver possibly. Or
Colts
something.
Didn't think they'd be here at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we started the season, you were not talking about the Colts being a 1 seed.
Right. I'm sure there's something, because right now a lot of people are thinking that the Colts there's something wrong, but I'm sure there's something wrong. Something that they could obviously address that could make the team better.
Right now, offensively, I wouldn't mess with anything.
No, I think something on defense for them.
I think defensively, maybe another edge rusher or a secondary piece or something like that.
Right.
I think you could see that. But offensively, they look really good right
now. So yeah, the Chiefs are going to be interesting to see what they do. I'm sure they'll do something. Bills would be something in that category. The teams that are kind of on that teeter-totter, I don't really know. Like, what do the Steelers do? Do they just kind of? I mean, if they lose this week, it's like, do you just kind of? I don't know. What do you do? Like, you're not in the mix, but you're also not out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
we thought for sure they were guaranteed to continue that above 500 no losing seasons for the head coach, and now all of a sudden with a bad like a really bad second half blowout loss to the Packers, you start to question things in Pittsburgh of maybe not.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The thing that
Um,
helps Pittsburgh is that division is in shambles.
yeah.
No Joe Burrow. Um, the Ravens already have 5 or 6 losses. Like that division is in shambles.
Yeah, it is. So it's fascinating. The trade deadline's always curious. It's always interesting to me when it comes to the NFL because it's so different than any other thing. Like basketball, one player could really kind of change something.
Yeah.
But this thing, it's kind of like a collective deal, and you're missing a piece that can go into the overall picture. It's different than that in like baseball, where it's like you get a really good pitcher, you're like, yeah, we're now really good because not only did
Right,
we
and
have good pitching, we have better pitching.
the guy that you get has to fit your culture, has to fit your
Right.
deal, has to learn it. Maybe he has to learn a new scheme. Maybe they're playing, you know, a 3-4, and then you bring in and you're playing a 4-3, and he has to learn a whole new job. You
Yeah.
know, so it's you got to get the right guy that fits in the right spot.
Yeah. No, totally. And well, we'll see what happens with it's Tuesday. I think you said
Yeah,
I forgot what the time is Tuesday. The end
like
of day Tuesday
3:30,
or midday. Yeah.
like midday
Okay.
Tuesday.
So that'll be interesting. There'll be a lot of. I think we'll start hearing some rumblings tomorrow, and
Yeah,
then we'll start hearing some more
Monday will be a
rumblings on
big day.
Monday.
Monday
Yeah,
will be a big
Monday.
day, and then Tuesday morning.
Yeah. So we'll see
The
what happens.
NFL is
It'll be
not
fascinating.
known isn't known for like baseball where it's down to the wire where they got to put the facts in,
Baseball's
minutes
always down the
before.
wire. I don't like
Right,
baseball trade
right.
deadlines
It's
because it's always
always
like that.
you start to hear stuff announced and you're like, wait a minute. The deadline passed 30 minutes ago. No,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
got it
yeah,
in just under the wire. We just
yeah,
didn't, hear about it. And so you just don't get that with the NFL. Normally, if you don't hear
yeah,
something by noon or 1 o'clock on Tuesday, it's pretty well done. Now I'll say that, and there'll be some huge blockbuster at 3:27, just to
Speaking
prove me wrong. But
speaking of baseball, we do have a World Series Game 7 tonight.
tomorrow,
The Dodgers did pull off some crazy magic yesterday. One of which was a ball stuck into a bottom of a fence. Um,
that I just what I think
which
I
does
have
not
had.
happen. It is so rare. It is
Just what I
insanely
think that
rare.
that the Dodgers can't manifest any more breaks. Something like that happens, and I just go, the game was tied,
Yeah.
and and who knows what happens after that. But I mean, you could put that angle and everything 12 more times, and 11 of it kicks off, and we're still running around the bases,
Yeah.
and it gets stuck, and they send everybody back, and then I have no clue what the guy on second was doing when the ball to hit to Kiki Hernandez. That guy was in no man's land and had no reason, no
Yeah.
business being off second base. He should have been camped out, sitting Indian style on second base, waiting for George Springer to bat. And you take the bat out of your one of your best hitters' hands by completely running yourself out of an inning and not giving yourself a chance to tie a game. And now you got to go fly back to LA. You're going to have to face Otani. You're going to have to face Kershaw. You're going to have to face the whole gauntlet because there is no tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
it's one out of a million chances that ball gets stuck in that
hundred
fence.
percent, hundred
I
percent.
think I've only seen it one other time, and I don't even know if it was a playoff game. I think it was some
Right,
random game.
right.
And so that's the only reason I knew when he put his hands up. I was like, oh man, I was like, that's a double. Don't touch it because the
That was
moment he
like
touches it, then it's in play, and they kind of wave off that double
well,
if
he
he
finally
tries.
did grab it because he just saw him running around the base. He's like, well, I
Right,
guess they're
right.
not
But
going to stop.
once he threw his hands up, then he can
Right.
go grab it. But if he had
That's the old
played
little
through it,
league. That's
I
the
think
old
they would
little
have
league
allowed
rule.
him.
Throw
Yeah,
your hands up.
yeah,
Don't touch it. And
yeah,
the ball went in the gopher hole. It's the
yeah.
old back in the little league.
It's
Wild,
and plus
wild
and
ending.
also a lot of people got mad at that moment. They were very frustrated at that moment. But honestly, I don't. There were Dodger fans on social media that were whatever they were thinking. What kind of rule is this? It is a rule.
It
It
is.
doesn't happen often. I think they only implemented that rule when they noticed that it did happen, and I think it might have happened a few other times, and they were just like, we got to make something up because we can't just have like that
and it
happen.
and it's fair. I mean,
It
if
is
he has to fight with it and fight with it, that's not fair. Because every team would build their stadium to have quirks to
right.
have that.
But the
And,
other
and
thing
like I
too
said,
is that the Dodgers had the ability. I mean, the Blue Jays had the ability to win that game.
right? Oh,
That
absolutely.
thing
You
happened.
still had one out or nobody out. Yeah, at
Right.
that point in time, you had second and third, nobody out. You still had
Right.
plenty of opportunity to get those two runners in.
With
Play
no
small
outs,
ball, bunt,
Glass now comes
fly
in,
ball,
pops it up, and
yeah,
then there was I think a ball hits. Is that Kiki Hernandez out there?
yeah,
I can't remember.
yeah, and he
So
comes
he ended
running
up
in
getting the ball, and
and
I think
throws
the
a
guy at
strike.
second thought he was going to drop it, and then all of a
Uh,
sudden he grabbed it,
well, I
and
mean,
yeah, I don't know.
when they originally went up, there was a lot of green open space that you looked like it was going to fall, and
Yeah,
Hernandez got a banger jumped on it and comes running in and makes the catch and on a dead sprint throws a dead strike to Betts and the game's over. And I don't like it because if it would have been just Joe Schmo that was on deck, then you say, hey, whatever. But it was Springer. And
right.
Springer has been at almost as hot as Vlad Guerrero in the playoffs. And to take the bat out of his hand and not at least give him an opportunity. Maybe he doesn't do anything, but we'll never
Right.
know because
Right.
you ran yourself out of the inning. And you just in a game of that magnitude, you have to know if you're going to come off second base, you have to know that for 100% it's dropping. You have to know without a
Exactly.
fathom of a doubt
Worst
in
case
that
scenario, it
situation of
drops and you're
right,
still at
and you
second.
stuck and
A
you still
run
at second,
scores.
or you go to third. You know, um, I understand the halfway rule. I get it, but in that situation, no. In that situation, you got to know who's in the outfield, know the arms, and a lot of people don't do that. They don't study that.
Yeah.
Um,
Some people are
and
going to sit there and blame the third base coach on this one. I don't necessarily
the third
say
base
that.
coach is worried about the runner in front of him.
Right. And I don't I think some of it you have to put it strictly on the player. I think he was literally making that decision off a whim.
100%.
I don't think he was looking at any of the base coaches whatsoever if he was going to. And I
Yeah.
think I mean if anything maybe the first base coach might have a better idea of like hey, where stop, don't do that or whatever
Yeah.
because he's looking towards that direction a little bit, but it was as soon as that ball was hit he should have maybe looked towards him and said, "Hey, what do I?" Because the guy at third's ready to tag up. That's kind of what he's about to do. So I think that first base coach, if he was looking at him, he should have said, "Hey, stay," because worst case
Right.
scenario, he drops the ball, guy from third goes. Right. So as soon as that ball hits green, that guy at third's going, and at that
The
point,
only other
you have a guy in scoring position, and you are only down by one.
The only other thing you could have done in that situation when you saw your buddy hung out to dry at second, um, was try to draw the attention of the outfielder by the guy on third taking off. If the guy on third takes off, maybe Kiki Hernandez uncorks one home and wild
Yeah.
throw, and the guy at second has time to go back and retouch. But that's really all you could have done. It was just a
Yeah.
bad break, something you don't see very often, and that
It's
was a
baseball.
wild ninth inning.
You
And
want to
I'm
know what
very
baseball is in a nutshell? Watch the end of that game. That's baseball in a
yeah.
nutshell. It can really, you could be all kinds of ready to go, hyped up, and then just have the complete air sucked out of you in a matter of moments. And it can all happen in a bottom of an inning. And you're just like,
So
what?
there is no Monday. So
Yeah.
everybody
Game
is
7 is
available
tonight or tomorrow?
tomorrow. There's a travel
Tomorrow.
day. They got it because they have to
Okay.
go back to LA.
So game
So
7, and then so basically from what I've heard, it's Otani.
he said last night when they interviewed him that Otani will be part of the mix, but they're going to ask him how he feels on and how long he thinks he's going to be able to go to put a plan together.
Now my question
He will be
is
part of the mix, but he will not. He may not be the starter.
So if he starts, I know relief wise it's different, but if he starts and he's batting
He still
and they
gets to hit.
change
It's the Otani
pitchers,
rule. It's the Otani rule.
he stays in
He
batting.
stays in back.
Okay. But if he comes in as a relief pitcher, it's different. No?
I
I
don't.
thought I
I
heard
don't
it's
think. I
different.
think. I don't know.
Okay.
I believe he still gets to hit because it's the Otani rule. Now, if that's the case, and the relief part of it doesn't coordinate under the Otani rule, then he will start
Okay.
because they're not gonna lose Otani on the back half of the batting.
No, it would be ridiculous. That was
Yeah,
one of the problems that they were having. I think
yes,
it was
yes.
in
That's
that
why they made
weird.
the Otani rule.
It was in that game. I don't know if it was the 18th inning game or if it was another game, and they were talking about Otani possibly coming out. And then they said, but if they do, then they can't use his bat. And I was like, well, that's weird. Like, okay, so maybe I don't know if it's relief pitching thing versus starting pitching thing. I have no idea. But I remember the commentators kind of addressing that little stat there, and I was like, huh, okay. So if he does relief, then
If that is the case, then he will be
he's
the starter.
starting. There's no way
Yeah.
he's not starting. So
Even if it's only one inning, he will start.
right. And it is going to be an all hands on deck game. This is game 7. You're going to have some weird stuff. We're going to see some starters coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
You're going to see some crazy switches. A lot of it's going to be a game of chess, and whoever loses that game of chess is done.
Scherzer should start for Toronto.
I could also see a Savage coming out as well in
Savage
this.
will come out. Savage will come out at some point.
So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be probably a wild deal. I'm kind of curious as to what the number, the actual viewership numbers it is for this particular World Series versus last year. Because I know last year, even though the Yankees did just crap the bed and didn't do a whole lot, I'm sure all eyes were on. So I'm curious how many eyes are watching this series because it is kind of an obscure team with Toronto Blue Jays. They don't really go in there very often. They haven't won since 60 whatever. I can't remember when they won.
No. They won
80s
in the 80s or 90s. Joe Carter hit that home run that is memorable.
Okay. So they haven't won since the 80s, and so it's not a consistently they're constantly in
30 something years probably.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like what the actual viewership on that is. I know with the Dodgers being in it, the viewership is up probably quite a bit because of who they are. People do want to see Otani play and hit and whatever. So I'm curious, but it's fascinating. It's kind of wild. I didn't expect to go to Game 7 on this, and I definitely didn't expect Toronto's pitching to kind of step up. I know that was a bit of a question mark a little bit versus how the Dodgers have set up pitching wise. So all right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Basketball, there's not a whole lot to talk about. It's still early. I'm just not going to really touch on it too much. We have plenty of time to touch on basketball once baseball is kind of over with, and we can talk about more about basketball. I talk about more about hockey as well. So
1993.
93. Okay, so it's been it's been a good while, but. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and let y'all go. Is there anything in your lock you want to talk about, or just kind of?
No, just relaxing the rest of the weekend.
Relaxing.
Just in time change. Probably get a little extra sleep. So,
is the time changed?
Tonight.
Tomorrow? Tonight. Okay.
2:00 in the morning, something like that.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm not as not. I'm kind of just chilling out too. There's not a whole lot going on. We have some. We've had some freezes. Here and there here, so
it's been nice. It's in the 40s in the morning and about as high as 70 or 71. So that's weather you don't normally get here. It's either one extreme or the other. It's normally hot or very cold. So this has been kind of nice. It's rained on and off, but it's been kind of nice. I think next week it's back in the 80s or 85 again. So we're trying to enjoy that while we can.
Sweet. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and let everybody go. We hope everybody enjoys the games this week, and hope your team pulls out a win or makes it close or competitive, and hopefully your fantasy stuff is doing well. I've had a couple misses at a couple games, but I'm looking to bounce back this week on it. So, All right. Well, just want to make sure everybody shares the content, likes it, all that stuff. Go look at our past stuff, and just always remember to keep it